Hello and welcome to chapter 130 of the DC Alliance podcast. With me, as always, is Clay. Clay, how you doing this evening?
I'm tired.
Long day of
did
construction, my friend.
it was a long day, man, and I did a lot of construction. I did a lot of painting as well. My pants, I think, are ruined. Yeah, it was rough, and I had to like get down on my knees a whole lot. Like it was rough on the body. I'm gonna be doing a lot of stretching before I go to bed tonight. But I got I found today was my first day, so I really wanted to see how the day was gonna go. I told you guys all the kind of quote unquote drama that was about to ensue at the end of the day. We got through it, it's fine. But I see this is another job that I am gonna have the luxury of being able to, go back to listening to podcasts like I had told you before we started recording. I have not listened to a single podcast outside of the GUA in 4 months. No one's
That
podcast.
I that's outrageous, but it makes sense because you told me that you can't walk your dog that much because it's super warm and it's actually hot on his paws if he's walking on the
Yeah,
road.
and
Because
and currently the small podunk town that I'm in has a stray dog problem. The one time that I did take him out to walk since we moved here, we were approached by at least 10 dogs in the small 3 blocks that we walked. So we don't want to like risk anything. And so I'm just like, yeah, Flynn will get his exercise in the backyard every single day. And that's unfortunately going to be it for now.
that's how I get my podcasting in lately is walking the dog. Once a day for me, once for Allison as well. So we like to share the duties. So it's not too bad, but I do get that's how I get my podcast listening in for the most part. Or if I'm driving, sometimes if I'm by myself, I'll get a chance as well. But it's very seldom do I have enough time to listen to a good podcast anymore, unless it, like I said, it's a walk. So we hope that you guys are walking your animals and listening to us. We'll say, Clay. Uh,
Yeah.
let's hope so. Let's hope so. So I'm going to get into network plugs, and we'll get this out of the way and get into what we're going to talk about today. We are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance with 8 shows in total. On Mondays is Ranger Alliance with Clay and rotating guest hosts of Jake and Joe. That's where they talk about Power Rangers, anything, everything that new, old, and everything in between. That rotates bi-weekly with Slice of Film with Katie and guest hosts Mark and Sarah. That's where they look at new films, old films, and like I said, if it's a new film, they might look at the prequel or the movie before. If it's a sequel, to coincide. So check them out if you're looking for your film needs. On Tuesdays is DC Alliance with myself and Clay. We got you covered on DC and the dumpster fire that's been lately. We got a new movie coming out in October, so we'll just put our heads down. And a new show coming out in 16 days, Clay. So less than 3 weeks for Stargirl.
Oh, okay.
Stargirl's
I
the
was like, new
31st of
show. What are
August.
you talking about? Okay.
Yeah, Stargirl. So yeah, onward and upward in DC. On Wednesdays is superhero discussions. That's where I look at any like the animation side of things. But right now, that's currently on the weekends to help with the Harley Quinn dropping on Thursdays all the time. I don't want to wait until the following Wednesday to give you guys one day before a new episode drops. So Chris and Joe have been extra nice to allow me to drop my episodes on days where they don't have theirs over the weekend. So special shout out to the guys there. But don't worry, when Rick and Morty comes back, there'll be your regularly Wednesday drops again because that show comes out on Sundays. So on Thursdays, Star Wars Alliance with Clay and Katie. They got you covered on the Star Wars side of things. On Fridays is Marvel Alliance with Chris and Brent. They get you covered on the Marvel side. She Hulk coming out this week. So they have something new to talk about. I'm shocked. It's Marvel. Yay. it's just nice to have steady stream of content. I will always say that. On Saturdays, bi-weekly is a walk through the multiverse with Joe. That's where Joe looks at everything that isn't DC, Star Wars, and Marvel. And this week, take a look there because myself and Clay, the DC Alliance boys, joined Joe over on a walk through the multiverse to cap off our Sandman discussion. And Clay, gotta say, just a little spoiler for you listeners. I was shocked at how much I enjoyed this. I didn't think I was going to like this at all. I thought this was going to be like, oh my god, like this is going to be pulling teeth. But no, it was so interesting to me where they went because I'm a complete general audience for this. I didn't read the comic, didn't listen to the audio book, so I was going in completely green, and I loved it.
No, I will say this: Sandman is actually going to be a part of our main topic, kind of. Well, as everybody sees the thumbnail to this video, that discussion, and of course, what you see behind us, Sandman is going to be a part of that now, and I'll explain more later.
Ooh,
But
I'm
yeah,
interested to know
Sandman
'cause I
was.
don't know.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna spring it on you, but the the discussion was very very awesome between the three of us. I really enjoyed the show. Still no announcement on season 2,
Which is
and
not
I'm a
good.
little worried because now they have George R. R. Martin pitching like, "Oh, I've seen the show; it's really great." So like, it sounds like he's needing to like give it an extra push, but it's crazy because I've seen Gaiman and like share all of these #1 posts on Netflix.
89 countries.
89 countries total.
The
Number
last
one.
tally that I've saw. So great. Like it's just not your typical superhero show or like comic content that you would get. And I gotta say, like episode 6 and episode 5 are probably my highlights. There's great moments from all the rest of the episodes, but episode 5 and episode 6 in totality were probably my 2 favorite episodes.
My favorite episode is probably still episode 6. Um Followed by maybe episode, was it episode 4? I think I'm thinking of episode 4. But yeah, 6 was just a treat. I think it was really really cool. No spoilers here, of course. Go
No.
watch the show and then go listen to our crossover episodes. One is going to be on episode 129 of DC Alliance, and then of course a walk through the multiverse, the latest episode
On
for
the GUA
Joe.
podcast
Yes.
network. And on Sundays, monthly is World's Finest True Believers with Chris Belga. That's where Chris and a guest take a look at comic of guest choice. Also, sometimes Chris does creator spotlights, and his most recent episode still is the interview with Mike Grell, and that was fantastic. I will continue to pump that. If you have not listened to that, get out and listen to it because he talks about things. My favorite was the Green Arrow discussion about what he was thinking just before he shoots that guy. I just thoroughly enjoyed that. So check that out. We also have first, all 3 shows, DC Alliance, Marvel Alliance, and Star Wars Alliance had their own podcast feed. Search Marvel Alliance, DC Alliance, or Star Wars Alliance if you just want Marvel content, DC content, and Star Wars content. But if you want all 8 shows, stay subscribed to the Geek Ultimate Alliance on your podcast app of choice. All 3 of those shows also go live on the Geekverse podcast, Geekverse YouTube channel, which is Mondays, DC Alliance. Normally we go live on 9 p.m. Eastern, but we had to go a little early this week. Star Wars Alliance goes live Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, and Marvel Alliance goes live Thursdays at 9-10 p.m. Eastern time. We also have a Patreon feed, 2 tiers, a $1 tier and a $5 tier. The $1 tier is basically a tip jar. You like what we're doing, you want to help us out any way you can. And the $5 tier is where you get your extras. You get your ad-free episodes, early access episodes, and Patreon exclusive episodes. Obviously, we keep pumping out the Patreon content. Myself and Joe are going to get together to do Superman 78 next week. So be on the lookout for that, listeners. And we keep going through DC films through the years. Clay is going through shows for the first time, and right now he's on Game of Thrones.
Yes, I did watch episode 7. I have it recorded. Last night was a little crazy for me, so I need to edit and then I will post it tonight for you guys to listen to. I really enjoyed this episode. I still think episode 6 is my favorite so far. But my predictions, because I always do predictions at the very beginning of each episode and then watch the episode to see if my predictions were correct. I was dead wrong in episode 7. I was like, this is going to be a chill episode. I think we'll just kind of ease into the chaos, which will be in episode 8. No, the chaos starts in episode 7. And whew, I am ready to see what the next 3 episodes are going to be for this first season of Game of Thrones. I know that sounds weird because I'm 10 years late, but one announcement that I did make, it seems, I'm pretty sure she did agree. Katie is going to be joining me on the season finale of season 1. And Katie, if you're listening to this, I'm trying to see if she will make it more of like an interview to me because she's seen all the seasons. I haven't. So of course, I'm going to be the one sharing my first experience there. So I'm really excited to see what the season finale is like. And yeah, I'm pretty I've already said that I am pretty sure, again guys, no spoilers for me. I am pretty sure that uh Ned Stark is not going to die next episode, but I know he's going to die this season. Like it's freaking Sean Penn, like, or not Sean Penn, Jesus. Oh shit.
Sean Bean.
Bean, yeah. Sean Bean, he dies and everything. So I know it's coming, unfortunately. So I really enjoy his character, and it sucks that I know he's gonna die.
I'm not going to say anything. We're just going to move on. We also have the MCU, the Marvel Alliance guys going through their Week and Watch This All Day MCU rewatch. She'll be on the lookout for that. They're covering all the MCU. And we also have Katie going through Star Wars comics with her husband. Eventually, Snell and Clay will get together to do the final issues of Batman 89. We also have Joe's Multiverse Minutes and my Top 5 Friday. Top 5s. So that's everything, listeners. We thank you if you're a patron, but if not, if you can take a quick 30 to 60 seconds to rate and review the podcast on your podcast app of choice, that would be greatly appreciated. It helps people find the show, and it's just a big thanks. So, Clay, let's get into everything. And right away, there were several different stories that came out throughout the week with Black Adam, and they all came from this one article from Vanity Fair. And it's titled "The Rock Goes Bad: Dwayne Johnson Embraces Villainy as Black Adam." And there's some quotes. We're going to have some great discussions here, I think, Clay, because some of this frustrates me, some of this intrigues me, and well, I don't know, some of this is total wrestling to me. So just going through, I won't read out everything to you, listeners. Just some of the things that sticks out to me. He said Superman won't kill anybody. There's a code that he lives by. He honors. Did you watch Man of Steel? Black Adam has the unique code of ethics too. He will not hesitate, and I like to have a little fun when I'm explaining this. To rip somebody in half. Does that mean the actor is kidding? Literally, he'll grab somebody by the neck and thigh and then rip them apart. Johnson clarifies pretty happily. So yeah, this comes out October 21st. One thing I wanted to say is the director didn't know anything about the character beforehand, and it seems like he didn't learn that much about the world, stayed out of it. What do you think about that decision, Clay?
You know, there's always this discussion, and it's even going to be in the discussion for our main topic of should these creators be experts at whatever they are directing? And I think that bias can get in the way, because what's the one thing that you always hear, especially nowadays, when dealing with this, oh, studio head, or oh, who's going to direct this, who's going to direct that? Some fan will always be, oh, I can direct that movie, or oh, I can be the studio head for this. And it's because they think, oh, I know these characters, I can definitely do them justice. That's fine and dandy for us having fun as fans, knowing these characters and whatnot. I just, and this is very, very surprising coming from me in regards to Black Adam in general, but as a whole, because I can't, stick my foot in my mouth now and then, go back on it when something else happens with a different property. So I have to stay true to what I think. And I think that for me, would it be awesome if everybody was an expert on these characters? Yes, it would. That would be great. But it's a lot to ask. The reason why I say that, I used to be somebody who weekly read every single DC comic that came out.
I don't think anybody's asking somebody to do that. I think just
No,
more
no,
so like get
I
your
understand. But even if I were to say, "Hey Heinz, I want you today to start reading every single Black Adam appearance from now until the movie comes out." Like, I can ask you that, and you can decide to do it or not, but that's a lot to ask,
yeah,
you
but
know?
you're going to get a lot to make these too. I don't think that is out of the question. I'm not asking anybody to do that, but if you like, you got to make your pitch. But it seems like Johnson then made the pitch to this director from this Vanity Fair article. And he says, like, it's not your typical superhero movie where a guy wants to be a superhero and gets the powers, and then you spend 50 minutes trying to figure out how the powers work. Seems like a direct shot at Shazam. This is a movie where you introduce Black Adam right away, and then throughout the movie, you slowly peel back the onion and reveal what happened. So it feels like we're going to get like the present day, and then we're going to get flashbacks to show how he got the way that he did. They basically talk about his history, and we get a cool shot of uh, Shazam with the people, workers, or well, military around him. Uh, but this is what I really want to get a discussion about, Clay. Come right here. It says, when the first draft of the movie came to us, the Shazam movie in 2014, when the first draft came to them, uh, it was a combination of Black Adam and Shazam, two origins in one movie, Johnson recalls. Now, that was the goal, so it wasn't a complete surprise, but when I read it, I just knew in my gut, we can't make this movie like this. We would be doing Black Adam an incredible disservice. It would be fine for Shazam having two origins stories converge in one movie, but not good for Black Adam.
All
Uh,
right, Zaslav, listen here. Because this is the
wait,
we need to protect
let,
the DC brand. We need to
let me
protect the
finish.
DC brand. Go ahead. Go ahead.
He said, Johnson said, I made a phone call. I said, I have to share my thoughts here. It's very unpopular because everybody thought, hey, the script is great. Let's go make this movie. And I said, I really think that you should make Shazam, make a movie on its own in the tone that you want. And I think we should separate this as well.
Bullshit is what I have to say about this quote. And the reason being, you had said off air, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about this discussion. Because I kept saying Dwayne doesn't want a movie where he is not the star. He doesn't want to because he needs to be in the limelight. And you said you can't necessarily chop that up because you need an ensemble cast. You need these other characters. How do you feel about that now?
I still think that this goes more towards what I was thinking about. Like, he's thinking of this in terms of wrestling. And if you have your Black Adam versus Shazam payoff in Shazam 1, I don't know how much further you can go with the Black Adam character, but if you explore Black Adam and Shazam separately, and then by the third film bring them together, you can also have members of this world. Like, you get the Shazam family, and on the Rock side, you get the JSA. So you can build this out and have even more, because this in reality too is like the Rock's team is definitely a production on this, like a production company for this. And I would imagine he would get credits for all the JSA stuff if this were to spin off at all. So I think that
Also,
was the initial plan. Especially, you got to remember too, they were filming this and getting ready for this all when when the HBO Max plan by AT&T was throw money at project left and right and do what you want, no budgets, no oversight. So they must have thought, like, if we do this right, we could get JSA spin-offs, we could get multiple films before we have a showdown. Whereas you blow your wad, it is a wrestling thing too, Clay. Is that you build your I think heel. Snell, don't kill me if I'm wrong on that, but you build your heel up, and you just don't have him fight the good guy right away and get him to lose, because he loses his luster then. So you take while to build him up. The only way you could do that, in my opinion, is like with the Shazam movie, the animated movie, where you have Shazam and Superman team up to defeat Black Adam. You keep Black Adam's power level at Shazam needed Superman to help him defeat him. So what would happen if they ended up having a showdown alone without Superman there down the line? You could hold that and build out their universe that way too. So I don't know how they ended off this film in the original script, but clearly Jonathan was thinking like, I will not be able to build out a Black Adam. No one's going to want to go watch a movie after this.
I will say the same thing that I said in our GUA chat last night. Tom Hiddleston did not become a loving character that is Loki by getting his own solo movie beforehand. He was the villain, then he became the bigger villain
That
of the
never
Avengers.
seemed to lose. Like we thought he lost, but in reality he didn't lose. And then we thought he
Exactly.
lost, and in
And
reality he
then
didn't lose.
you built his character until he finally got his own Disney Plus series. For Black Adam, you could have easily been the villain first and then become the anti-hero hero.
I
And that's
don't
the
think it's
problem
easy.
with Dwayne.
No, I
Is
don't
that
think it's easy because your comparison with Loki, Loki's things is cunning and slyness and trickster. Black Adam's is supposed to be power and strength, and if you have him lose and be completely defeated in the first movie, you do lose a lot of luster depending on how you defeat him.
no, you defeat him. I didn't say kill him. You defeat
No,
him.
I'm not saying kill him either.
And
When I say
then you build his character up, because then he's down on his luck because his ego is just demolished after having so much power and then loses. Then you have the character building, the redemption story, and then he's the one teaming up with the JSA.
I think that this way you give your chance to build out the JSA. How else do you build the? You're gonna it take you so much more longer to see
So
the
you're
JSA.
saying you can't have the JSA without Black Adam.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying like in
You're
this
saying, how
situation.
do you build the JSA? You just build it.
No, yeah, Clay. Where are you greenlighting these projects to? What world are you living in? The world I'm living in right now is we don't get many things greenlit. There's not much on the go. It's a desolate wasteland. There is nothing on the horizon for
Well,
DC other than these films
I'm
that need to
sorry
be
that I think
successful.
with a logical brain and
You
have.
don't because
Yes, I do.
you just said start the JSA. Go say that to Zaslav now. Okay, scrap Black Adam plans. Start the JSA. Let's just start building out member or start a JSA film. We would
He's
have
going to
one by
have a
now.
rude awakening when Black Adam does not make as much money as he thinks it's going
We
to
would
make.
have had JSA by now. Right now, there is not the only JSA we ever got was do I have to say it? Legends of Tomorrow. So yeah. So I'm just saying, like you just say, make the JSA. JSA hasn't been made yet, and only been on CW. So I don't think it's as easy as saying that. People haven't like got it right yet. Gave in a
Which
treatment. I don't
goes all the
hear
way
anything.
back to our discussion right before, which is why I need to be running DC
No,
Studios.
oh yeah! Oh my god! Never see Batman again. 20. It'd be like when we.
Oh
Be
no,
like,
you would see Batman.
It'll
You
be
would see
just like after
Batman.
Batman and
You
Robin.
would see a comic book accurate Batman. That's the thing with me. You
Well,
wouldn't get this, grounded. He can only fight the way normal human earthlings can fight, not a comic book Batman the way he fights. No batarangs and all of this other crap that you get all the freaking time. No, we need a comic book accurate Batman.
I've enjoyed pretty much every Batman we've gotten on screen so far, but I'd like to get a consistent Batman for a long time. I'm just going through the rest of this listeners to find a quote here about Hawkman as well. In the talking about he goes back to ancient time reincarnation, and they said in the comics there are clear references of like I saw you 5,000 years ago. You remember me? We're not doing that. The filmmaker says it would be too confusing. Confusing. Obviously, Hawkman reincarnates. So how many times do you need to reincarnate and still remember? All these rules are something you don't want to sit until these characters are really established. And Hawkman is repulsed by Black Adam's tactics, but shares some of the stubbornness. He's a very driven character that knows that he's on the right side. Definitely, he's a leader. He wants to bring this team together, bring a certain stability to the world. Hawkman has a very strong sense of what's right and wrong, and Black Adam challenges that.
this can be salvaged.
I think this is a lot better than what the
And
quote you've seen going around about the he
and
will not be reincarnated, because it says he will be. It's just they will not reference it to 800. It seems like
well, and
they'll leave this open for when if he has a solo thing or his own project.
yes, and
Yeah.
I don't even think it needs to be a solo thing or anything else. But I do think that, again, this is Dwayne's movie, so you can't put too much emphasis on any other character. So they had to choose something on the chopping block. This decision can be fixed. And the reason why I say that is because recently, anybody go listen or go read, excuse me, Robert Venditti's Volume 1 of Hawkman Awakening. That story is, of course, a Hawkman that knows that he reincarnates, but doesn't know the reason why. And you find out the reason why. And I think that is how you play into it.
Well, you can leave
And
it
I think
open.
you and I think you can play into it his next appearance. Like I
Yeah.
don't think it needs to be, oh, well, we have to see like 4 or 5 more movies with Hawkman until he finally realizes this. No,
You
I think you could do it fairly quickly. But I do think it is a shame that we're not going to get an inkling of that in this movie, because I think it will get viewers more excited to see future projects with him if they know how much is on the table.
it's all a give and take, right? Like, you remember Aquaman, James Wan asked Zack Snyder to not show Atlantis, and Snyder's like, "Yeah, that's fine. That's no big deal. I don't have to show that in the Justice League film." And it's like this here. In my opinion, you want to save some meat on the bone just in case Hawkman's a hit with audiences, and you get more of a story with him, maybe something to show with Hawk Girl as well. So I actually like the decision here, and this actually makes me happy. And the other thing here is Doctor Fate. They talk about this. Doctor Fate is known for his distinct golden helmet and supernatural abilities. Uh, but this Black Adam opponent's other superpower is raw charisma. While Fate can overpower Black Adam in the strength department, he might also be able to reason with him. You need a special actor to play basically a legend. Dr. Fate is a very powerful being, so you need someone like Pierce who can play powerful without being overly done. He can do it in very subtle ways. I mean, he's one of the coolest people in the world. He was James Bond, but as a person, he's magnetic, so warm, with such gravitas. That's what the filmmaker said, and that makes me super happy for Doctor Fate, because that's the one character I really want done right. I think Brosnan's going to nail this role. I think he might be the standout character, and I'm also fearful that his death is what's going to be needed to spurn Black Adam to join the JSA to fight.
Mm, I could see it just because, I mean, Brosnan is just there for the check. And it's just like, yeah, sure. Why not? I don't have to do that much because my stunt double's in the helmet. We're okay, cool. Peace out. You know, I could totally see that happening. Would be a shame for sure. There are other people who have worn the helmet for sure. Uh, but I think it would be a shame to let Pierce like just go like that.
And we got some notes here on Cyclone and Atom Smasher as well. They went younger for the characters in this route. Cyclone hails from a family of heroes and now has to live up to the legacy, overshadowed by a grandmother who was known as Red Tornado. It's always fun when you introduce characters in a team that have never really seen combat before, so the audience gets to experience it through those fresh eyes, the director says. And the same with Atom Smasher. Even though Atom Smasher is a bit more experienced, they're close in age, and they have a bond. We are the new ones here. Like, let's not screw it off, is what they're thinking. And Atom Smasher can make himself gigantic, but also feels crushed by the expectations that come with his powers. He's still not sure that this is what he wants to do. The director says he thinks this is what he wants to do. He thinks he's on the right side, but he has a lot more questions. And that's basically the article for Black Adam.
What was that part about Red Tornado?
That the Cyclone here is the granddaughter of Red Tornado.
Okay. A little odd, but okay. considering Red Tornado, for the most part,
Well, this could be
everything
an
that I've seen.
older version, I would imagine, like a JSA comic version is what I'm assuming this is. Like she was probably a JSA member back whenever. I think it's probably the pre-Android Red Tornado.
I'm trying to remember if there was any human Red Tornado, because I don't believe there ever was. There's an android Red Tornado, but never a human, from what I am seeing.
Abigail Mathilda Mahunkel is a fictional character and occasional a superheroine in DC Comics universe, debuting during the golden age of comic books. Created by Sheldon Mayer, she first appeared in her civilian identity as an All-American Publications, blah, 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 and became the first character to be known as Red Tornado.
I see it right here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. There you go.
Cool.
What's next on the docket?
Okay, Clay. Next is the big discussion that we had about Hamada's plan. Essentially, here the Hollywood Reporter outlined it pretty great here. I'm going to just queue up. I want to talk about this first little quote just because it's funny to me. We've done a reset. That's how Warner Brothers Discovery CEO Dave Zaslav described the call, talking about DC. And Zaslav took digs at former Warner Media CEO Jason Kilar's strategy of developing straight-to-streaming films. We're going to focus on quality. We are not going to release any film before it's ready. DC is something we can make better. The remarks were not received inside DC, according to multiple insiders who used the same word to describe members of the film division pissed. And DC Films President Walter Hamada nearly exited. We talked about this last week. I don't believe this for a second. Nearly exit, but he's going to stay on until at least October 21st Black Adam release. So, Clay, before all this, before the sale, and Hamada's plans were said to have included Crisis on Infinite Earths event that we've already seen once before on the DC CW. So I want to ask you now, do you think that would have been a smart plan? Do you think that's where he was going when you think about stuff that he had planned there with Michael Keaton, for example? And was this a mistake to cancel this and to go in a different route, we'll say?
Yes and no to the mistake. And this is why I believe so. So if you were to keep going from the movies that we have all the way reaching into a crisis, you're leading into a reboot. Currently, Zaslav is saying, what was his quote? It says just straight up, we've done a reset. Okay, where does that reset start? Is anything going to lead up to it? Are you cutting everything off at the knees, waiting, and then setting your reset? They have repercussions to both avenues. Your avenue of Hamada's is that you have a lot of risk in having a crisis, with the amount of non-planned movies recently, as far as the continuity of the DCEU and not a roadmap, it gets a little sticky. I was, of course, not really for Michael Keaton being Batman, but with the idea of Crisis, it would have only been for a short amount of time. I even pitched the idea of having multiple Batman in the same universe due to the idea of Crisis coming. That still would have worked out just fine. I think that I would have been okay with it. Just letting it roll, having these movies come out. We would have gotten Batgirl. And see where it goes. Because again, I'm going to take a line from Snell saying, I think regardless of the Crisis making the reboot or Zaslav creating this reboot, it's going to be a wild, weird, exciting time to see if these actors are coming back to play these roles or if new people are coming in to say who's the next Batman, who's the next Superman, and things like that, you know? Because even when I was excited about the Batman, I was keeping up with every single person who was, being in the running for Batman. It was an exciting time. I think that a lot of people, of course, we just had a comment on our uh, DCA announcement tweet for us going live. I'm gonna shout you out, BTAS reunion. Brian, he did hashtag Hamada had nada, and I've seen that a lot recently. I honestly think let it go through and let the reboot happen through Crisis. I would like to see a Crisis in my time on the big screen. I don't think it's going to happen with Zaslav. I genuinely don't. World Biggest Geek on YouTube just commented saying, "Hello, I have a question. Either though that Crisis may fix everything, what about Flashpoint that will change the course of everything?" So here's the thing. Crisis in the DC universe, there has been one Flashpoint, and currently, right now, there is a Crisis on Infinite Earths happening right now, the Dark Crisis. So even though Flashpoint happened, there could still be a crisis. Flashpoint, technically, more people are calling it a crisis event now, and I guess technically it was, but it was never meant to be that in the first place.
No, but people were saying that for the same reason he's saying it, is that they were saying that they were going to use it to
Why?
fix things.
Yeah. Why do the crisis if you're going to use Flashpoint to fix things? It's to change things up. We know that the reason why is okay. We're going to get rid of Ben Affleck. We're going to bring in Michael Keaton. We're going to do all these different things, and we're going to see how it goes. But as a backup, just in case this kind of goes to shit, we have Crisis to fall back on. That is the real world thing, not necessarily the in story thing, you know?
That see, I got one a minute here because I think that doing Crisis this early was a monumentally stupid idea. Like you build towards that. That's an event. You don't do it when your whole
But
studio is in
but it's not
disarray.
happening tomorrow.
No, but I think you need a 5-ish year build to that. I don't think, and that's not way this seemed like. This seemed like it was going to get underway relatively soonish
I think
with
we would have
Keaton's
had Keaton.
experience.
I think we would have had Keaton for 3 years.
Yeah, so it would have had to be done in 3 years.
3 to
So,
5.
which I just think that they should, if you want to reset, I think you just wipe the board and start new. Like that GIF that somebody shared of Apocalypse, Justice League War, Apocalypse, Justice League Dark,
Oh,
Apocalypse
you
War.
know what you need to do, Barry.
Run the board, Barry. Somebody in our chat shared that, and Zaslav was dressed up as Constantine. So I just I don't want Crisis a half-ass Crisis, which is what I feel we got on DCCW, because it was more about the Easter egg cameos than it was about the story for me. And I don't want that, and I feel like that might be rushed if you're trying to push that out. Whereas I'm in agreement with World's Biggest Geek in terms of you can use Flashpoint to reset and change things, and you can then build towards Crisis. I just
But
think that you
even
need to.
well, what does he say now? He just commented again. He said, "If you guys were directors and someone called you to direct the DC universe, which character would you kick it off with?" So I answered this question on Twitter just last night. It asked, "What 2 projects would you first green light?" And I recently just saw Bullet Train. Absolutely loved it. I think everybody should go see the movie. Hilarious, awesome, action packed, whatever. It's great. I said you need to. Oh shoot, where was my quote?
I know
Um,
one is Green Arrow.
so it's Green Arrow in with the inspiration of Bullet Train, so that way Like, because in Bullet Train, you saw a lot of different like assassins and stuff. You could bring in a whole bunch of DC villains in some sort of story plot that's like Bullet Train, not the exact same thing, of course, but you could bring in a whole bunch of villains and it's like Green Arrow versus all of them. But I would have Boyd Holbrook, the Corinthian from Sandman, as Green Arrow.
Oh, cool.
And then it would have the same kind of inspiration, like I said, with Bullet Train, with comedy and action.
That one Charlie Hunnam for Green Arrow Twitter guy is going to be super mad that you said that. Seems like he's everywhere saying Charlie Hunnam for Green Arrow. For me, I you got to go with the big boy in blue, Superman. Is probably my, because you can establish that and you build down towards that. Maybe Superman bringing together people for a Justice League type thing.
That was the second one I chose, was a Superman starring Henry Cavill. And I said to take inspiration from the first arc of the animated series, as well as Secret Origin, and do a Metallo, John Corbin, Lex Luthor story.
You can also do maybe a JSA type movie and in the past and just show them as the first age of heroes. So
Yeah.
that would be something that I would think about doing as well. You could set that before the events of Superman, like 20, 30 years before. Just like kind of we got with the JSA animated movie that I thought was fantastic. Thanks for the question, World's Biggest Geek. Okay, Clay, we were into this. So yeah, I personally, I think it's too quick to do a crisis event. And this goes back to because they want these big events, and the only person to throw a big event successfully for DC right now is Berlanti with Crisis. As far as I don't need to like it for it to be successful, and
So,
it was successful. Same thing as his previous crossovers where he brought 2, 3, 4 shows in. Some crossovers where they introduced characters that and plots for new shows that would go on and continue, like Legends, for example. So it's he's had a smart plan, he's had a good run planning things for DCCW. He can't be controlled by the constraints of budgets for the CW. I can't hold that against him. And still, there's another Variety article where it says Berlanti's Green Lantern series is currently moving forward. Sources say it's the biggest, most ambitious DC adaptation ever mounted by the prolific producer. So maybe he's busy with Green Lantern and he won't even be able to be the head of the universe. I think the whole him going to be head of DC Films was just a story created out of nothing to just run for a day for generate clicks, because essentially when I dug into it, I couldn't find anything concrete on that at all other than just.
I think that Snell said it best in his Travis Told You So, in the idea of Zaslav probably looked at a lot of people that have had success doing other things, and Zaslav was like, I kind of want on the big screen what Berlanti did on the small screen. And then people were like, you want Berlanti to be on the big screen? And people just rolled with it. Honestly, though, this has become a big discussion recently. We even acknowledge the fact that viewers on our YouTube were shooting out Berlanti way before this even came about. And I think, I said this, I think, on Friday. It's a lot more than just saying, hey, because he did it at the CW, he can do it at, on the big screen theatrically. I think he could, but there's a lot more hoops that you have to jump through in order to make that happen. Now, am I going to say he's not up for it? Like he can't do it? No, because let's be completely honest. He has had in the last, I think, 5 years, he's had two. No, he has worked on 3 theatrical releases.
Mm-hmm.
He has done
successful ones.
Yes, he's done Fall Guy. He has done oh shoot, what was his directorial debut? I think it was for theatrical. I can't remember. He's done 2 other ones after Fall Guy. Right? Is that the right name of the movie? Fall Guy, right?
Free Guy.
Free Guy, not Fall Guy. Fall Guy is the new movie that's coming out with I think it was who cares? Free Guy. He produced Free Guy, I think. Uh, he has had a successful career. He was attached to Green Lantern. I actually enjoy that movie. Now, is there a lot wrong with that movie? Yes. Can it be made better? Yes. And that's probably what he's doing with the Green Lantern show. He's wanting to redeem himself because you know exactly that there's going to be so many fans that if they don't like it, regardless of if it actually looks good or not, they're going to compare it to his Green Lantern movie or say that it's worse just because he was in charge of the CW. That's what people are going to do.
Those people don't matter.
No, they don't. But
So
it's the negative loud people that get the most buzz.
no, they don't. The people who puts in negative reviews for every show, like Miss Marvel and that, those man babies will cry to the hills, and that doesn't stop shows from coming out or anything.
No, it doesn't, but it does get people to it becomes a talking point for at least a day.
Yeah, and it probably pushes more people to go check the show out. So it probably defeats their purpose, to be honest with you. Like I don't
Oh, I'm
see.
not saying that it doesn't, but I'm just saying they do have a voice and it does get loud sometimes.
Where.
Now, in regards to the studio head talk, I said Sandman was going to be coming up in our discussion. I don't promote this very much, but the other night I was watching Vodka Stream with Ray and Steven and Dave, and they were talking about the exact same thing. And we had discussed, I think, really early this morning about like, okay, what are or you? I can't remember exactly what you had said, but I had said at this point, I want somebody that I've never heard of, so that way I can stop hearing everybody say, "Oh, I want Deborah Snyder. Oh, I want Jim Lee. Oh, I want this person." And it's like those are really unrealistic choices. Steven brought up a person that I would be a-okay with because he has had a piece of work that was theatrically released and well received, being Wonder Woman, and he is the producer on Sandman. Uh, 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 oh shoot, Heinberg, I think is the his last yeah, Alan Heinberg, right? I believe is his
You're.
name. Am I wrong on that one?
I don't know. This is your.
Allan Heinberg. He has had several interviews recently, some with Neil Gaiman, and he is a guy that has gotten in front of the camera. He's talked to people. He's done plenty of interviews. I think he would be a really cool guy for the studio head because the one problem that I personally have with Berlanti is that in the entire time from Arrow all the way to now with the death of the Flash, I can honestly say I have never seen Greg Berlanti in a video interview.
Oh my god! They need to do on fandom. They need to do a better picture for one in Wonder Woman wiki for the creator there for that guy because the first picture of him does not sound to me like I want you leading my studio. Just to let you know, he got two of his hands in his pockets and his jeans, and he looks scared to death. So yeah, that does not show like lead my studio.
No, just type in Alan Heinberg and Sandman. Like you'll see the photo of him and Neil Gaiman in front of that poster doing an interview. But I wouldn't have a problem with that. The other names that they threw around was David Goyer, which
No, from some of his quotes, no way.
I know that he has said some things that are very much against like Man of Steel and things and stuff like that, BVS, which is weird because I'm pretty sure he actually worked on Man of Steel before.
Yeah.
He of course did Krypton, which I loved. I love Krypton as a show. I just don't really see it, but honestly, I'm okay with them picking a nobody. But I do believe, like, again, what other people were saying on the vodka stream, Kevin Feige did not become the Kevin Feige we all know and love until they did I think it was the announcement of
Avengers
phase 3. No,
two.
phase 2 with like Civil War, or no. Phase 3 is Civil War, right?
I don't know. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, when they did the Serpent Society thing, and they had uh Bozeman come up with RDJ and Chris Evans, that was when I think a lot of people first saw the face of Kevin Feige. Yeah, World's Biggest Geek says phase 3 is
I
Civil
think they
War.
might have saw him for Avengers. I think he was out a little bit for that as well.
Yeah, but not as much. I don't think we saw much of Kevin before Age of Ultron.
I think we saw him in interviews, we just didn't get him as much. We don't have as many people out doing interviews as what back then as we do now. I think that it's like
True. But
doubled and tripled where you get like interviews with Kevin over everything. Like buddy Brandon Davis talking about Nova every single like couple months. He's interviewing
Jesus.
him. So there's multiple people. So I feel like he's out there more now, but that comes with being successful. Like I know what you're saying. Like stay behind the clouds and tell. Like you don't need a big name,
No.
and
Like
that person will
you don't
turn
you
into a
don't
big
need
name if they're successful.
exactly
Yeah.
but I do need a face to the studio head.
Oh
I
yeah,
think that
you
is
do need
important.
that. You do need that. But also, like I don't know if we were looking for the studio head of Marvel Studios until you had a few successful films. So the DC film studio person is going to be at a little bit of disadvantage there, where like you're going to be expecting this stuff, and like they're going to be on the docket for it right away. Whereas you can work in anonymity for a little bit at least before you get any heat under your toes for no success, or getting fans after you. So, yeah, it's interesting who they're going to pick. Clay, I don't know. A lot of good choices out there, but I think some of the ones that we're seeing, and like you said, some of the wish ones are never going to happen. And with Zaslav, don't be shocked if you get somebody more towards the numbers where they're talking about. There was a weird article where him talking about using like artificial intelligence to pick movies and stuff like that and pick scripts. There was a weird article, like an older article about that. I'm sure hopefully that's not the case anymore. But just don't rule it out because he's a numbers guy. He's looks at return on investment
That's
first and
Have you
foremost.
seen the AI like creating Batman scripts and shit like that?
Yeah, it's
Like
pretty. I assume that that's maybe down the line when Skynet takes over. Maybe he might
Jesus
enlist them for
Christ.
to do that then. But yeah, interesting to see. I'm on waiting to find out, but we're not going to know for a little bit longer yet because we still have some of these films that were set up by the old guard with the old plan. I don't know if the new plan is coming in now, if they're setting up to wipe the board for this new guy. So who knows?
But this leads up to, like, we've said this multiple times, like, or we've asked this multiple times, like, when will we see the first inklings of this new plan or whatever? I think I'm gonna be worried if I see the new plan or a part of the new plan without seeing the studio head, and if it's as early as next year.
I think as well. I could. I would like to know earlier. World's Biggest Geek asked us, "Do you think that Matt Reeves will still continue doing the spin-off shows on HBO Max?" I'm not sure about that. To be honest with you, World's Biggest Geek. It all depends on the budget because the buzzword this week was uh, not greenlit. Batman Two.
Well,
Batman Two
well,
is going to come out. It's just
well,
he just
not only that, but like there has also been several articles saying that Penguin is still being filmed. Like it is still in the works.
Yes, but for the Batman, for the green lit for the Batman guys, they're not green lighting anything until you get a script first. Like this is formality for Matt Reeves. It depends on how long it takes him to get the script done and get in perfected. But yeah, I don't think it's the studio saying, "Yeah, wait a couple years on your Batman," when everyone knows, like with the Joker too, for example, that's getting pushed forward, but everyone knows that's his own separate thing, which Matt Reeves has stated multiple times for his Batman as well. So I hope the spin-off shows happen. I think we'll find out more in the new year about that because I think wasn't it supposed to start filming in February or was it November? The Penguin. It was one of those 2 months.
February.
February, yeah. So we'll know more in the new year. I think World's Biggest Geek about that. So Clay, we have for the final topic, we have some news roundups here. And first and foremost, Zazie Beetz is in talks to return for her character in Joker 2. What do you think about that?
It's very odd, considering where we left off with her character. Of course, being scared out of her mind that Arthur Fleck was in her apartment. And then he, runs out. That is when he is motivated to do the paint and everything else. We didn't see her after that.
No,
So I think more so this could be more of like Arthur maybe still fantasizing and saying, "Oh, my old girlfriend," and then showing flashbacks. I don't know if she will be in present time, quote unquote.
I think she could be in present time, and then by the end of the movie, we find out that he did kill her in the apartment, and this is just
Ooh.
what he's seeing in his head.
I don't know if I would necessarily like that. Like I'm just confused as of her character coming back because I do like the mystery of not knowing what
Yes,
happened to her character.
same. I was completely nervous about that, so I'm in your camp there. But you could do this right too, where if I think if he killed her and not really know until the end, and even it being up for debate again, I think you could. There's a way to do it, and I trust Todd Phillips with that. Next on the docket, Clay, CW to get new owner as Nexstar acquires 75% stake in the network, and they're going to be focusing on the big demographic, the
The
highest demographic,
58
the
years
58
olds.
years old and plus. Those people are rocking out the Riverdale and the Flash. I can see my Nan saying, "We are the Flash." That she's watching the Flash now when they say it
I
as
knew
well.
my grandmother loved her soaps, but man, I didn't think she was as edgy as watching Riverdale.
Maybe she can fill me in on what happened in the Flash for the season and a half that I missed, pretty much.
So I have to ask you because I haven't asked you yet. I'm not going to, and we're not covering on the show. But are you going to watch the last season of The Flash?
I think I might, and by you saying we are not doing it on the show, Travis may record something to stick on the end of our podcast. Uh, Depending on how I love the last season of Arrow.
What?
Yeah, well, you just said I'm not watching it, so I was like,
No. What's this about Travis recording something? I did not know this.
well, I'm debating it because the last season of Arrow was fantastic, and they had basically a road to crisis, and it was great. Every episode was fantastic. I talked about Arrow every episode on the old podcast that I had just leading up to it because I loved it. So depending on how it is here, like I'll watch the first episode for the final season, and I'll see how it is and where they're going towards. And if it's just more the same that I saw for the 3 seasons prior, then I'll pass. I won't do it. But if it is, yes. But I'm debating that with Titans as well. I know you won't join me for that, but I'm debating because
No, never.
because there is a rumor
That
here.
that
Because
speaking of Titans on my Twitter feed will get you banned. I have done it plenty of times already. People that don't even know me have just accidentally gotten on my feed banned.
well, it could be attached to every DC Alliance podcast episode for 10 episodes or however long the season is. Depends. It could be terrible, and I might just not check it out after I check out the first couple. I'm going to give them a shot for the fourth season, just the first or second episode. We'll see.
Gross.
But yeah, I'm still going to check out the DC shows just the way I do it there, Clay. So yeah, the CW. I don't know what this means for the shows on CW. I think people should be excited if they don't renew some of these DC shows like Superman and Lois, but you could take it and bring it to HBO Max or bring it somewhere else, Netflix, anywhere. Look what Netflix did with Sandman. Uh, it just with the way they're going to skew, I don't see Superman as something. I see them buying like Family Feud.
See,
Right.
I know that like a lot of these shows are like in danger of being canceled. And I'm okay with this because again, I made this prediction a long time ago last year saying these shows are going to be canceled in order to have connected DCEU shows like Peacemaker. And I'm okay with that. If it means we get more interconnectivity on a much bigger scale, cool. I have enjoyed Superman and Lois thus far, other than, Superman nearly destroying Earth for some reason and them never explaining why it happened.
The Falcon Punch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And
that was one of the weirder ways to end the season. Like, I really enjoyed the show, so I'm going to make some excuses for it there. But my God, to have him just circle around, it looked like he was going to just like go back in time. It looked like Superman 78 for a second, and then he just.
It was definitely Superman the movie homage for sure.
Can you at least have him say, like, if I fly around fast enough, I can build up enough kinetic energy and I can separate the Earth? Like, it's just one line. I know it's not real.
There was
it doesn't make any sense. But
there was no explanation whatsoever.
Nothing. He just flew around. He's like, I got this. What do you do, Dad? And then they're like, just Dad, go in there. Go, Dad. Like, okay, whatever.
But if this means that Gotham Knights is canceled, cool. If this means Titans is canceled, cool.
Would you be okay with him taking Superman and Lois and putting it on Netflix or putting it on HBO Max? Like, does that have to be dead too?
But I don't think it will be, though. That's the problem, because it has the DC brand, and I think Zaslav, anything with the DC brand, needs to be a part of the DCEU. The only thing with Sandman is that it's closer to what was the Vertigo brand, which is
I think I'd bet every bit of money I have in my bank right now that Zaslav wouldn't know what Vertigo was if I said it to him.
No, he would not. But the thing
is, I hope so, but
World's Biggest Geek says Superman and Lois finale that thought was awesome. It blew my mind away when he separated the two Earths. It was cool.
It can be like, but anybody can enjoy it. Me and Clay can have some issues with it, but the fact that you loved it, more power to you. I thought it was a cool visual.
The really cool thing about that season finale was the fact that I got to see Sun dip Superman in live action. I thought I would never see that before in my life, and I got to see it, which is awesome. And the thing is,
just ignore the fact that he had no powers when they brought him up to the sun.
And he shouldn't have been able to talk in space either.
But a suit. Superman the animated series had a suit, for crying out loud, every time he went to space.
Oh,
he had a suit for underwater. He had a suit for underwater. Like, come on.
He did. But what I'm trying to say is, like, with these shows, like, what you're thinking, you're saying Sandman, but I would even go as far back as Lucifer. Lucifer was canceled from Fox, taken all the way to Netflix, and had, I think, 2 or 3 extra seasons on Netflix.
And people that I've heard, like, the Netflix seasons are arguably the best because they were able to do whatever they wanted.
But the problem is, again, Superman. It has not only the DC brand, but a main Justice League character. That's the bigger problem.
The nuts thing for me is we have like 7 Batman floating around, and we can't get Superman. But
here's the question:
audience, like,
does Zaslav want seven Batman?
Well, he's having a second Joker that exists on its own, and Matt Reeves' Batman
for now
existing on its own. Well, he's
greenlighting
Joker. He's not like gonna shelve Joker.
No, but that's the thing. That's the thing, because I also heard Snell talking about this after Matt Reeves' trilogy and after Joker 2. Like, do we expect to see more Black Label stuff?
Oh yeah, I think so. Maybe Todd Phillips has other ideas. Maybe Todd Phillips brings in another director and he's an EP on it. So,
because we did get the somewhat of a story, never really confirmed, of Phillips being like talked about as far as like a consultant for the DC studios and everything else. But does that mean he gets to make these other Black Label movies?
Not sure, but also to go back to you too, there is the article where it says from the Hollywood Reporter, it says some key collaborators have received assurances their projects are safe. The Suicide Squad filmmaker James Gunn has multiple projects in development at DC, including season 2 of Peacemaker, which is moving forward. And then they talk about Blue Beetle going forward as well, but I think this was pre the hubbub that we still don't know about yet. Yeah. So, like, Clay, it's still a very murky time. Like, if you're shaking that magic 8-ball, is coming out outcome not certain, or ask again later, because like they're not sure. We need, like you said before, we need a DC studio head. We need to know like what's going on and what's going down. I don't need to have a 5 year, like this title film. I just need you to say, okay, we are planning on on releasing 2 films in 2023, planning on releasing 2 films in 24. Then we're going to up it to 3 films in 25 and go like that. That I don't need to hear actual projects until you have them concrete with script, director, and actors in place ready to rock because of all this not good, all the goodwill you've burned up over the years to the point now where realistically anybody can tell me that a project might not get made and there's nothing I can say back to them because
So I want to go ahead and put this out there on our podcast so people can come back and say which one of us is wrong. I want to know, do we get the studio head first or an opening slate first?
I think we get the studio ahead.
I think they're going to jump the gun, and I think we get a slate first before we get a studio head.
You could be right. And the final thing I want to talk about, Clay, the rumored is that shows like Titans and Doom Patrol are not going to be renewed after new seasons. After these new seasons, do you think that's concrete? And do you think that same goes for Harley Quinn's animated show as well? Because
I
it's
think
a
it
HBO
does.
Max. Yeah,
I think it does.
I think you're right. I think these are the last seasons. We're seeing some emotional posts from some of the Titans people. The
Oh, really? I haven't. Oh,
Nightwing posting thinking Starfire and her commenting under it, and Tegan the Raven commenting under it as well. So a little bit emotional. That's it for 4 seasons. I think that's going to be the final season. So who knows how they go out?
thankfully.
But Doom Patrol, another one, we'll probably lose that as well. But just the fact that we have 3 seasons of Doom Patrol is something to behold in its own right.
And the thing is, because I was going to make this comment earlier when discussing this, Doom Patrol was a very unexpected success.
Yeah.
It was something that shouldn't have worked, and it did. And I will say this: it sucks that I will not see Rodriguez or Frazier anymore in those portrayals. But if at all possible, if Zaslav sees that these shows were a success and wants to bring them back for their DCEU appearance, I think it would be pretty cool. Because again, with Robot Man, I think even in a high budget DCEU
he would look perfect. His look right there. Yeah.
You can still make it the way it was in HBO Max and or better and have Frazier play him.
Not like the Cyborg, for example. That wouldn't match up with what the quality we got in DCEU.
World's Biggest Geek, Gotham. Gotham Knights, I'm sure he is speaking of. Kill it before it sees the light of day, please.
Yeah, I have no interest in that as well. But who knows? Maybe somebody might want
Zaslav,
that.
I will give you that tax write-off. Just cancel it.
So, Clay, we have a funny little news note to end the. Well, we have a listener question too, but we have a funny little bit of news note to end the news. Pennyworth has a new name, and Move Over, Fantabulous Emancipation of Harley Quinn, like Birds of Prey. That is not the worst name for a DC project anymore. We have Pennyworth, The Origins of Batman's Butler for season 3. So 2 seasons in, they have changed the name to Pennyworth, The Origins of Batman's Butler.
This is a meme come to life. So any and all comic book readers for DC know about this. The one thing that DC loves to do, if they don't believe a comic is going to do better or do good, they think it'll do better by either putting Batman on the cover, Batman making an appearance in the book, or putting Batman in the actual title of the book. In the last 2 years, the number of Batman titles have tripled because they're wanting to regain their money loss that they had during the pandemic shutdown. This is freaking ridiculous. They finally were like, hey, you know what? I think I know how to make Pennyworth better. Batman Pennyworth. Well, that doesn't work because that doesn't make any sense. Okay, how about this? Batman, The Origins of Pennyworth the Batman Butler. That is way too long. I don't get it. And until they finally figured out this one, and I just have to ask myself, why does this not make me want to watch the show even more?
I've heard good things about the show, but I'm going to be honest with you. It feels like they've insulted me by changing the name to basically like, why don't you give me a show? Superman is Clark Kent, the Daily Planet reporter, or something along those lines. But this is basically what you're doing here, and I think it's just like, what? Okay, I guess I'll do. You? Oh my God, Batman's butler?
This was memed
I'd
so hard.
rather read cool stories about Alfred. Not gonna lie, if we're being honest here, like I'm sure there's cool stories in the comics that I can read about Alfred. I've read a few that I would probably chalk up before I'd watch Pennyworth. So that was hilarious name change. Just wanted to point that out. We have a final question here from Mr. Snell, and he was wondering, what do we think Black Adam is going to make opening weekend? This is early projections, very early out, two
So,
months out.
if I remember correctly, he put it somewhere in the 55 million range, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'm gonna go with a solid 75 million.
75 for opening.
Yeah.
This is October. We're gonna
There's
be
nothing around it the same weekend. This is my big thing.
not the same weekend, but the weekend prior, I believe Halloween does come out.
Which I don't think you're going to get too many repeat viewers for that. So you get your big bump the first weekend, but I don't think that's going to steal people away from Black Adam. I think vice versa.
Yeah, but also the marketing of a family movie, and I know I'm being a dick by saying this, but like I also know family movies have not been doing all that great, except for Minions, which
Yeah.
is fucking ridiculous. But Super Pets did not do that great.
I think, you know what,
And
Clay? I think that goes back to there's
The
going
Rock
all out.
spoiling the week, the ending
No,
of the movie.
going all out for voice actors. I don't think that nearly is as big a deal as what people think it is. I don't think like because they went Keanu Reeves for Batman, like they went all out for some of these superheroes that have very little lines, but they're going to cost quite a bit. It seems like that is not a recipe for success. So I think this highlights more so the fact that you don't need to bring in these bring in the people that do some of the animated shows and the animated movies. Like bring in those actors for voice. They can change their voices. Bring in the real talents. Don't bring in the people like big actors just because you want a famous voice that someone might hear and recognize. I feel like that is not nearly the smart decision. And so many animated shows, especially so many animated movies in that go that route. It's just I don't understand it. Like showing me the names. That's what they did for DC Super Pets. They showed after they showed a little clip, then they showed all the names of the voice actors. I think you waste so much money on that.
Did you actually see that movie?
Nope, not
Okay.
yet. I'm waiting for a home
Oh,
release.
that's right. So like I saw a poster that said Dwayne the Rock Johnson and with huge letters. And then League of Super Pets was like just as small as like coming to theaters. It's like ridiculous. Like it's super ridiculous.
Clay, there's somebody in the background now with a very low emperor voice. Good, let the hate flow through you. You're really
It's
getting a hate boner for Dwayne Johnson, and I can't help but laugh because it's
I
really
mean
funny a
not
lot of
as
the
much as I
times.
do for Kevin Hart, but it's
No, no,
starting to get
no.
really up there.
Well, Rock's saying a lot of
Really
kind of
stupid
stupid,
stuff.
yeah, kind of stupid stuff sometimes. Like it's just like Rock, just sit a few plays out and promote.
This is
Come
the
out, come out.
biggest DC movie you will ever see in your entire life. It is the most loved movie ever, and nobody's seen it
Oh,
yet.
yeah, oh, 100% agree. World's Biggest Geek says Kevin Conroy is the best voice to play Batman, and you'll never all the way, and you'll never replace that. That's true.
Ooh,
I
I don't know.
agree. You can have different voices, but
I really love Bruce Greenwood. I'm sorry.
oh,
I
he's good
really
too. But when I close my eyes reading a Batman comic, I still hear Kevin Conroy's
I
voice
still hear
reading it to me.
Kevin's voice as well.
But there are really good ones. You are right with Bruce Greenwood. He's fantastic, and Young Justice. So if you haven't checked out Young Justice, World's Biggest Geek, check that out because he's fantastic there.
But
Clay,
as I haven't given my prediction yet for
yeah,
Black Adam. I'm gonna go ahead. You said 75. Snell said 55. I'm going to give it. I can go a little above. No, I got to go below.
Oh, so you went from to, oh yeah, that's right.
I'm going to say 52-50. 52-5 is mine. I wanted to say 53, but that's way too much for him. So I'm going to say 52-5.
500,000 is too extra, too much. Trying the line here, folks. I'm gonna be honest with you. I hope it's 75, but for Rock's sake. But we were talking yesterday about about the show tonight, and I told you to check out Warner Brothers Pictures YouTube channel and look there from the Comic Con. But both I'll call them trailers were dropped at the same time. Shazam has 14 million, and Black Adam has 2.3 in terms of views. So I don't know. I'm a little worried myself. I want this to do good. I think I'm going to really enjoy this film. But
I really don't care
for the
if it does
Rock's
good or not.
for the Rock's no, just because of the Rock's passion for this character. He's been like wanting to make this movie for a long time now. So I just hope that it actually pans out for him. Clay, we won't be giving our thoughts on Smallville episode 5 cool this week. Too many things came up for some of us to handle this week.
I didn't watch the show.
Sorry.
I'm gonna go ahead.
I was trying to save you the
No,
embarrassment.
I had embarrassment. I'm not embarrassed. I had a crazy weekend. I had a long day at work. I was planning on getting home a little early to watch the show. That didn't happen. Traffic. So I will watch the episode for next week, and we will just be one episode behind over on Talkville. So
shout out to Joe too, because Clay wasn't sure if he was going to make the episode, so we had Joe on standby, and I think Joe ended up watching the episode of Smallville. So shout out to Joe. Joe, you'll know exactly what we're talking about next week. Thanks for being on standby again, Clay. Before we get out of here, tell listeners where they can find you.
Of course, you can always find me at Fanboy Clay on Twitter. Go ahead and check that bio. You can find the link tree to all the shows that I host, that including here at DC Alliance, Batman News Weekly, Ranger Alliance, and of course, Star Wars Alliance.
And you can find me on Twitter at Travis_156. You can drop me a line. We can chat about DC anytime. I also host superhero discussions on the network. We are right in the middle of Harley Quinn season 3. So check that out. It drops on the weekends on the GUA Podcast Network. And World's Biggest Geek asks, do you guys think it's too late for DC to do another fandom this year? It's never too late, but probably in this case, yes.
I don't think I was hopeful before, but now I don't think, just because of the penny pusher that Zaslav is, I don't think we're going to be seeing a fandom anymore.
Not as much in the world of DC to talk about when a lot of them are canceled. But listeners, thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week for more DC news, and thank you for supporting the GWA Podcast Network.